This video for the English 1010E course at Southern Utah University focuses on how to draft a rhetorical analysis. Let's just take a moment to talk about a writing process. There's lots of different writing processes, but we'll talk about a process that's recommended in doing most academic writing. Often when we begin academic writing, we start with the pre-writing stage. This might involve brainstorming, where we start thinking about ideas that interest us related to the writing task we have to do. This doesn't apply to our rhetorical analysis because we've already been given the speech to work with. Often, pre-writing also involves note-taking, so we go to our sources and we analyze and read or listen to these sources and take notes. And that's what students did last week with their speech. Then they take those notes and they create an outline. An outline is like a plan for the paper, where it has the most important ideas listed, but it doesn't have complete sentences written. We don't write complete sentences until we get to the drafting stage of the process. And drafting is where we write the paper, at least in an initial form. Then we can go back and do some revising, and we may even go back to some pre-writing or note-taking and outlining again as we work towards a final draft. So this isn't necessarily a linear process where everything has to happen in order. Sometimes we repeat some of these steps. But finally, when we've revised the paper to the point where we feel it's ready and complete, we publish it. And often this involves submitting it to the teacher for a course. So that's the academic writing process. And this week we'll focus primarily on the outlining and the drafting steps. The goal with the rhetorical analysis, as we heard about in the previous videos, is to understand and analyze the rhetorical situation. So rhetorical situation involves looking primarily at three things. Who is the speaker? What is the speaker's message? And who is the audience for this message? And then looking at the interaction of those elements. How well does the speaker communicate the message to the audience? So we need to think about who the speaker is. For the TED Talk that you watched last week, you'll want to make sure that you read about the speaker's biographical statement so you understand who the speaker is. Then you'll want to make sure that you can clearly identify or summarize what the speaker's message is, or their thesis. What is it the speaker wants to teach or persuade or tell? You need to be able to communicate that to yourself so that you can communicate it in your rhetorical analysis. Then lastly, you need to figure out who the audience is. Who is the speaker talking to? And since we're all working with TED Talks, the general audience here is the general population. But still, you may want to know, where was this TED Talk given? In what country? What are some things that we can assume or guess about who the audience is that the TED speaker is talking to? So we need to know all three of those things: the speaker, the message, and the audience. Then a rhetorical analysis is looking at how well the speaker communicates the message to the audience. And that's what the goal of this paper is to understand how that communication is working and how well that communication is working. So really, what you're trying to do is answer this question: how does the speaker communicate? What you are not going to do is explain what the speaker talks about. That's not really the goal here. Your goal is not to evaluate whether or not you agree or disagree with the speaker, or whether the speaker is right or wrong. That's not your goal. Your goal is just to find out how well the speaker communicates. And you want to be able to do that by showing the different rhetorical strategies that the speaker uses to communicate with the audience and share their message. And so that's how you'll organize your paper, according to the different rhetorical strategies. So here is a suggested outline for your rhetorical analysis. You want to start off with an introduction. And in the introduction, you'll briefly introduce who the speaker is, what their message or their thesis is, and who the audience is. then you will state your own thesis statement. And your thesis statement might be something like, the speaker communicates a message of hope by using strategy A, B, and C. Okay. The speaker of this TED Talk convinces the audience to do some kind of action, primarily using these two strategies. Okay. Then you'll write your body paragraphs, and there will be multiple body paragraphs. Each body paragraph is going to identify one of the rhetorical strategies that the speaker uses. You'll give some examples of how the speaker uses this strategy, and then you'll evaluate how effectively does the speaker use the strategy. Is it working? Is it helping the audience understand the speaker's message? So you will repeat that kind of paragraph for every single rhetorical strategy you identify. Then you'll finish your paper with a conclusion. The conclusion is going to look very similar to your introduction. You're going to summarize who the speaker is, what the message is, what the audience is, and then you'll restate your thesis statement. The last page that you'll include is a works cited page. On the works cited page, you need to cite any of the sources you used to write your paper. And in your case, it will be one source. It will be the TED Talk that you used. So you need to identify who the author or speaker is, what was the title of their speech, what was the date that it was given, and what's the publication information. So from what website and what website address did you find that speech? So that's your goal this week. You're going to create your outline based on the notes that you've already created. And you're going to think about which rhetorical strategies the speaker uses and how effective each of those strategies are. Once you've created that outline and you've identified which strategies you're going to focus on, then you'll draft your body paragraphs. I recommend that you wait until after you've written all of your body paragraphs before you write your introduction and then write your conclusion. It will be easier to come up with an accurate and a good thesis statement after you've written your body paragraphs. It'll help you figure out exactly what it is that you think the speaker is doing well. Be sure to look at the example rhetorical analyses that will be posted to Canvas so you can get a sense of how other students are approaching this kind of task. You may be able to learn from their examples. Good luck as you work through the outlining and drafting stages of the writing process. If you have any questions, please be sure to contact your instructor through Canvas or email.